Hello, I'm Philip Stoten. I am on the Co-Young booth at Apex 2024 and I'm joined by Nicole Russo from Microboard. Nicole, great to see you again. Last time we talked it was over Zoom, so great to do it in person. Thanks for stopping by. I just wanted to get an update from, I think we spoke like maybe 2 years ago, from where you were then to where you are now. Last year seems to be have been a really good year for the US, for EMS companies. We've seen some reshoring trends, but we've seen some real growth in the market. What's it been like for Microboard?
Yeah, so great to be here, Phil. Thank you for the time. We are growing significantly. We've seen the steadiness of the supply chain emerging. Customer backlogs are still strong. I think there's some discussion of are they real? Will they tailor down at some point? We're not seeing that. We're seeing that they continue to be very strong. A number of our customers coming out of COVID have wanted to engage in master purchase agreements or LTAs that really then further solidify the next at least 2 to 3 years of business through those arrangements. So we're very, very encouraged right now.
Yeah, and I think what's fascinating is as we went through that COVID period, we identified quite a lot of fragilities in the supply chain. And I think much as it was a challenging time for relationships between EMSs and their suppliers, EMSs seem to have done a really good job of communicating well with their customers and actually perhaps improving that relationship, that strategic bond that's there. Is that something you found as you went through all those supply chain struggles? It actually brought you and your customers closer together, even though you were having to tell them there was scheduling issues?
Absolutely. I mean, we made recommendations on how to secure long lead parts, upfront funding if they wanted to support that, and they listened, and they continue to listen. What we hear over and over is nobody wants to be blindsided, and we really don't understand where the lead times are. We believe some pockets are stable, other pockets, memory and things we're not quite sure. So customers are still leaning into long lead parts and getting things on order much further. CM World's 90 to 120 day visibility, the 2 to 3 year visibility we have right now is just stellar for our industry. So.
Yeah, and that's stellar for you as a business manager for planning and for all those things. Just on the inventory side, have you managed to reduce some of those stock levels? Is it inventory you're carrying that's paid for by your customers? Has that driven any cash flow issues, or is it starting to even out a bit more?
So my background is a vice president distressed debt at GE Capital, so I know what a good capital structure looks like, and which means we don't get into trouble. We have significant liquidity through a combination of just good inventory management. The turns are not where they should be, but it's good management. Inventory from milestone payments, a combination of moving out as much inventory as quickly as we can through strategic planning, and then in some cases, maybe where we're buying parts from our customers, maybe there's credits that they're willing to let us keep while we work down some of their backlog of inventory for if they've had a push out or something. So there's all kinds of scenarios to work with your customers on, and I think people have to not be afraid to do that.
Yeah.
Because it keeps you out of trouble and it allows us the growth capital we need, so we can invest at this show, come out here and get some new equipment and make sure our customers are satisfied for the years ahead.
Yeah, and it's that equipment that helps you to perform at the level you perform at, and that's part of what I'm seeing in terms of building on that reshoring trend is a real focus on operational excellence, on making sure that you've really got the factory performing well and you're really getting as much as you can out of that capital equipment. Is that something you focused on over the last year or two?
Absolutely. So one, there's a lot of automation here. Everything from final inspection to just how data platforms can talk to each other to give you real-time intelligence. Two, the ability to upskill our workforce and pay them more by automating more. We have to do. We have an obligation to do that to ensure they're getting ahead. So we are heavily investing in that. We're going to take a holistic view of our entire system, IT-wise, and just rip it apart, for lack of a better term, in the next 18 to 24 months and recreate what it's going to mean as AI is emerging.
Yeah.
And that's a big word, and there's still not a lot of really good use cases that have been established yet, but we're going to be ready for it, and we know that's part of our success.
Yeah, and when you look at that upskilling and you look at that automation and even the adoption of AI, is that something that is going to help you mitigate the talent shortages that most US manufacturers are seeing at the moment?
Yeah, it's such a loaded, area right now, and I've been telling people, the complaint of workforce challenges, has to become the distinct words of, how are we going to solve it? This is the workforce we are dealt with, and these are the folks that, we're either going to get them to come in and join us or we're not. And if we don't get them to join us, we've got to figure out other ways. The automation and the data integrity, swing shifts, can we get, for us, there's a couple platforms we're working on. One, women that potentially want to work 9 to 2, where their children need that, life balance. 2, trying to get close to retirement, folks staying in longer. 3, the neurodiverse population that we're going to set some programs up in Connecticut to look at. 6% of the workforce in any state in the country is neurodiverse and usually unemployed or underemployed because of lack of confidence. So we're going to pursue those markets as well as veterans. Veterans fall into the category of being nervous to come in for jobs. So all of those coupled with automation and data, we should be able to solve this.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And are you able to benchmark and measure your kind of revenue per capita and see how that's grown over the number of years? And a lot of people talk about doing more with the same number of people as a key part of the growth strategy going forward. Is that something you consider and are measuring as you go?
Absolutely. I mean, this industry is so capital intense, and we've got to be planning equipment right now for the technology that's 5 and 7 years out. So as we're making those investments and not adding significant overhead, at the hourly workforce, is a piece of the puzzle. But the overhead of what our staff can do that's more efficient is really where we need to look. And also remote work. I was not a believer of it, and there are certain jobs you can't do. You can't be a manufacturing person and work from home. But I do believe it's going to become more of our solution, that we've got some, staff that can work from home certain days for that. We have a compensation that may be a little bit less because that's a benefit they'd like. And I think there's different ways, so the return on investment on the capital in relation to the headcount stabilizing and the revenue growth is a very important metric.
Yeah, and looking at diversity in terms of who you recruit, but actually having diverse solutions for all those different people is really valuable. You talked about the neurodiversity. I think that's a really interesting area and topic, and actually embracing the talents and skills that come with that, but actually putting in the structures to support those is going to make you stand out and be unique within a certain area of the workforce. That's something that's really important when you're trying to move the needle in that area.
It really is, and as an underserved population that is brilliant, we need to provide them programs. So I happen to be very blessed to be the executive chairwoman of the Workplace. It's one of the largest workforce boards in the country. We raise about $60 million a year through private, federal, and state funding, and we are creating a platform with a partnership with Lockheed and some other entities in Connecticut to go ahead and put wraparound programs in place so that we know how to hire neurodiverse, we know how to deal on their days that they're challenged or days that they're having a good opportunity, and we're going to make it work. And so we're very excited about that opportunity. And what we believe is a population that is labeled incorrectly and really needs good opportunities.
Yeah, and that's exciting because actually if they're 6% of the workforce, they're 6% of the consumers. So it makes sense that they can be involved in the supply chain throughout that process. One of the trends we've seen particularly in some of the larger EMS companies is that inventory bubbles gone through. It's ended up as an inventory bubble at their customer, and they've seen a softening in demand. You haven't seen that. You've seen good, solid book-to-bill ratios, month in, month out. Do you see that continuing? What does it look like in terms of projection?
We haven't. We about 45% of our revenue is defense. Now that's not our CCA count because the value add on the defense cards are much more. So our CCA count is only about 30% of the defense. That sector obviously is very strong for many of the world's reasons that are happening. Our other sectors, medical, telecom, industrial, all have remained relatively strong. In fact, our telecom sector is emerging with a whole new product line right now, and that's very encouraging to see some of the very strategic partnerships they have for clouds and more local communication and cloud applications.
Yeah. When you're working in those industries and you're focused on specific industries, does that mean you're gaining industry expertise and you're working perhaps in more than just the manufacturing space. You're involved in the design, you're involved in aftermarket, you're involved in end of life for those products?
Actually, for the telecom sector, we do direct fulfillment for them, including aftermarket that's coming back. They actually don't have any manufacturing at all, so they've got 80 engineers around the world. So yes, we're a direct touch into their customers. Our medical customer, we're full box build integration and for defibrillators and compression devices and other medical applications. So we're not direct shipment, but we're definitely understanding and feeling those sectors and what's going on. Damar Hamlin, with the football incident, the AED market is very strong, and AEDs are relatively easy to buy now. And that most sports teams, schools, even families want to own them now.
Yeah. So another interesting market, and I think what I find fundamentally important there is that when you get an OEM that doesn't invest in manufacturing and is prepared to say, we're going to partner with Microboard, they know what they're doing, they can manage our supply chain, they can manage our manufacturing, end of product life, reverse logistics, you can just deliver so much more value to them.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll help them with obsolete part notification, a little bit of manufacturing design work, but at the end of the day, the design, we don't do that heavy lift, obviously, and they're doing that, but we're guiding them continually on backlog discussions, long lead parts, and it's a really good partnership. So we enjoy it.
Good stuff, and continued growth. You see the trends that you've seen over the last couple of years continuing over the next few years, and it sounds like you have more visibility now than you've ever had in the past.
We do. I mean, the trajectory for electronics obviously is just on such a curve, and I think for us the defense sector is going to remain one that's strong, that obviously has to stay on shore. We know Mexico has come up a lot on with their stability there. We're not there right now, but we do see a core group of customers that's going to allow us. We only have 14 customers right now. And we've doubled the business just with those 14, and we're planning on bringing about another 5 in within the next 18 to 24 months. We could bring in 10 to 15 if I really wanted to. That's not the kind of business. We're trying to run a business that is extremely service oriented, and really use the staff that we have in Connecticut very selectively. So we believe in a very strong, as my BD of sales, he says, you're going to 10x this business in the next 5 years. And I believe we could.
Yeah, and you can do that by being selective with the customers you choose, and choose customers that really fit with Microboard and really get value out of Microboard, and that's what really makes the difference.
Absolutely. And the relationship's key. You have to be eyeball to eyeball with your counter stakeholder. And the relation, the partnership, and what you're going to do for each other. It's really critical in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great to be eyeball to eyeball with you finally after doing these previously in Zoom. Great to spend some time with you. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Thank you, Phil. Really appreciate it.